Hey, this is Decoy from DecoyNoise, and today we're doing more Am I the Antagonist posts brought to you by Oops, My Bad. And I'm not talking about an adult-themed diaper, I'm talking about the times that you're sorry, but not really sorry, but kind of apologizing, with today's topic being, today I messed up by accidentally adding WAP to a children's toy store playlist. So this isn't an Am I the Antagonist post, but it does need to go to Decoy Court like normal, and if you haven't heard the song WAP, it's about very aroused woman by a woman named Cardi B, who is a ex-adult entertainer. I'm trying to make this as PG-13 as possible, but it's the equivalency of me and Decaf, the other guy that's on the podcast, did a music video about really hard men's genitals, and we just kept on saying that over and over. But let's go ahead and get to the post right now. So OP wrote, "Today, too long didn't read. Accidentally added WAP to workplace playlist. Song played at work. Let's just say if the customers in the store didn't know what WAP stood for, they definitely did by the time we managed to turn it off. I'm a key holder at the children's toy store. We have 2 CDs that we're allowed to play that have songs deemed suitable for the store. One of the CDs is your typical kids sing-alongs, Wheels on the Bus, Old MacDonald, all that jazz. The other is a weird folk CD that has the worst rendition of Oh Canada I've heard in my life, so naturally I made a playlist on Spotify with some family-friendly tunes so that I could put on when my manager wasn't there that didn't make my brain turn into mush and dribble out my ears. This morning before my shift, I wanted to update the work playlist as it was getting a little stale, so I did the quick add option that allows you to go through your liked songs and just click them to add them to the selected playlist. Awesome, great. Gonna give some fresh tunes to get me through my closing shift. I'm at work about 2 hours in and my coworker tells me the till needs a drop. There's too much money in the till and I have to open it, count it out, and count out $200. While I do this, the back room where my phone is connected to the store speakers is locked to prevent anyone going in, waiting for me back there when I bring the cash back to the safe. While I'm counting an insane amount of $5 bills, when all of a sudden the speakers start blaring, promiscuous woman in the house. There's some promiscuous woman in the house, and my blood runs cold. Oh my ever-loving heck. I added WAP to the children's toys playlist. I look and see looks of horror of the faces of women and innocent children. I panic and go to shut the till so I can run and turn off the music, but remember my manager telling me that if I shut the till without taking out the correct amount of money, I would be in a world of trouble. In her words exactly, everything comes second to the handling of cash. And I wasn't about to call my manager and tell her that it had to come second to Cardi B talking about her very aroused situation. So I start telling for my coworker to grab the keys from around my neck and open the back room door. She grabs the keys and sprints to the back room door, but yells back that she doesn't know what the key is. I describe it to her as she tries it, but says it's not working. I'm furiously counting the money and the panic is making it hard to keep track of how much I'm actually taking. Finally, my coworker gets into the back room and turns off the music, not before Megan Thee Stallion has the pleasure of informing us if he did some stuff for me. He's a bottom feeder. Okay, I quickly finish counting the cash and make sure of the amount before I do what can only be called the walk of shame to the back room, avoiding eye contact with all the angry mothers in the store. I get back there and see that I did in fact add WAP to the store playlist. I give myself a moment to breathe before putting on my best customer service voice and speaking over the intercom. Good evening, customers. On behalf of Store Name, I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties. We hope to make it up to you by offering free gift wrapping on unlimited items. Thank you and have a fantastical night. Gift wrapping is already free. Let's just say I welcome back Oh Canada with open arms after this. So before we get to some top posts, we gotta take this girl to Decoy Court. I mean, what's going on over here? And here's the thing. Yes, she messed up. Was she being the antagonist by doing this, by trying to make the day go by faster? Not really. Did she make an honest mistake? Yes. But honestly, if I was her in that same situation, one, you just say, hey, look, the cash can come second. We don't care about any of that over there. Just like, leave it. We need to turn this off. Don't expose these people to, by far, probably the worst song ever. But one of those things is, I would have sat there and just looked surprised as everybody else. Like, they don't know that I plugged in my phone back there. If you start running and like panicking, they know it's your fault. But if you go, oh my God, what's happening with the music? Like, is that what the boss is doing nowadays? Shame on them. And let me try to just turn the music off and just act offended as everybody else, pretending that you've never heard of the song before and just really going with it. I think they really snitched on themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and say right now that there is no antagonist here, even though no one asked you, Decoy. Nobody wants your opinion, but let's go ahead and read some top comments anyway, because I like doing this. The top comment was, "That is hilarious. Is there any song worse for a toy store or a worse location for that song?" And Ram Ranch is the next one. I don't know what that is. So the next track, the next one is offering gift wrapping. That's an incredible saved. Doesn't cost a store anything, but shows care enough to make up for it in some way. Way to perform in the heat of the moment. No, I disagree with that, because performing in the heat of the moment would have been like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing that. But you know what? I'm gonna go and make up for it. Let me do some gift wrap for you guys. The same way, but not really admitting fault to say that, hey, I had something to do with that. Just say that's like, you know, the computer system got hacked. Oh no, this must be the competing toy brand or something. So the next reply to that got the meteor shower is, "Moms, you're purchasing some wrapped presents. Get some ribbon in a box for these wrapped presents." I like that. That got 11,000 upvotes. I wish any of my videos got 11,000 anything. But let's go ahead and go to the next comment saying, "The same happened to my manager when running a restaurant dinner shift. The song changes some really pervy house song that went something along the lines of, ah, daddy, am I doing this right? Ah." God damn it. My manager was in charge of the music playlist, but instead of freaking out and turning it off, he was just sitting in the back office, just at the side of the restaurant, bobbing his head, humming along as he was doing some paperwork. And it reminds me of the one story that I read on here. I'm gonna wreck it, but just the idea that I think a girl's boyfriend bought their dad a Bluetooth speaker, and they're all like, you know, at a family gathering at a Christmas time, and so they figured out how to connect it to the dad's phone, but after already demonstrating it on the boyfriend's phone. So the boyfriend just excused himself to use the restroom, but somehow, because the dad turned off his Bluetooth connectivity, it went back to his phone, and over the speakers for all the extended family to hear was some very, very particular adult content that is just involving, I don't know, family. Let's just go ahead and leave it at that. And that's just kind of a funny thing where it's just like, you know, oftentimes you just have to kind of throw your hands up and be like, oh my god, I don't know, that I'm as innocent as you guys. What's happening here? If all of a sudden you get really embarrassed, everybody knows it's you. There's no smelt it, dealt it type of situation here, but it's somewhere along the line. So, I mean, I'm still saying that there's no antagonist here. Maybe they could have been a little bit quick thinking, but let me know how you would have felt. Are you as a mother type person where you're like, oh my god, clutching your pearls and what? I can't believe that happened. How dare you? Are they really the antagonist, or are they just some kid that made a mistake and not really understanding the technology? But as we go through these different stories, let me know how you like that type of content where I'm shoving today I messed up or relationships stories into Am I the Antagonist and just judging them in Decoy Code accordingly. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe down below. But let's go ahead and get to that next post of Am I the Antagonist, which is, am I the antagonist for rubbing my boyfriend in my friend's face? Before we get to the story, I know what they're saying, but I could only imagine if she literally picked up a boyfriend and just rubbed it in her friend's face. But let's see what the next post says. So I, a 21-year-old female, met my boyfriend, a 23-year-old male, last year, freshman year of college. He was in the same class as me, and we started dating after we did a project together. It's important to mention that none of my friends have met him before me. He's from a different state than all of us and had recently moved to attend school here. After a few weeks, it was going really well, and I invited my friends over to meet him. It went great with everyone, but this one girl. Let's call her Penny. Penny was nice, and at first she seemed fine at the party. I thought everything went great. Later that night, I got a text from Penny. Here's how that conversation went. Penny: hey, it's great to see you and all. I was wondering who that stranger at the party was. Tall, dark hair? Me. Oh, haha, that's my boyfriend. I could have sworn I introduced you to him. And then Penny says, weird, I thought you said you two were friends. Bummer, I thought me and him had a really good connection. And then me, wait, what? Did you guys even speak to each other besides when I introduced you? And then Penny said, no, I just felt a spark with him. Just so you know, I feel like it's really rude if you keep dating him. Me? Why? And then girl said, you know, girls rule. Or Penny said, girls rules. If you're into the same guy, nobody can date him. Me? Okay, I was already dating him before you decided you were into him. She never responded. Later, she sent the messages to our friend group chat, absolutely flaming me and saying that I was too much of a promiscuous woman to care about her feelings. Some of the chat ignored it. Some of them privately texted me and told me to break things off with boyfriend. She thought she was being dumb. Or some thought she was being dumb. I made the decision to keep dating my boyfriend and things are going really well. In general, I just keep Penny and him separate so I don't upset her. He's really uncomfortable around her after seeing the group chat messages, so it works out just fine. But last month we had our 1-year anniversary. I don't usually post on social media, but I added a picture of us just eating dinner on Instagram and said I was lucky to have him. In the next hour, Penny bombarded me with messages, once again calling me awful things, and then she called me and screamed at me for violating her feelings, saying she couldn't believe I'd flaunt my boyfriend like that when I know she likes him a lot. I ignored all of this because I honestly didn't know how to react. She once again made it everyone else's issue in the group chat, and as a result blocked everyone in it, or got blocked by everyone in it. I got a call from her mom yesterday, said that she's really depressed and misses us, and that she wished that I hadn't cut her off over a man. Her mom told me I should break up with my boyfriend. I once again refuse. Am I the antagonist for violating girl code on this one? Edit. So I did speak with Penny's mom again this morning and filled her in on the actual whole situation. I don't know what version of the story Penny gave her or my friends, but clearly it wasn't the right one. A lot of you mentioned that Penny sounds childish. She is my age and I didn't really know how to gently suggest to her mom that she's very strange. Turns out I didn't have to because this isn't the first time something like this happened with Penny. According to her mom, her mother also suggested we cut all ties with her if we don't want the situation to escalate. So, is OP the antagonist? And quickly over in Decoy Court, I gotta go ahead and say that no, she's not. You can't really pander to somebody with these type of issues where they just blow something up in their mind, where she briefly met a guy and just filled in the blanks saying, oh my god, we're gonna run away together, he's the love of my life, and just started playing that out in her head, and then acted accordingly to her fantasy, not the reality of it, that he's dating somebody else and dating the friend and not even interested in her. So maybe there's something weird about that. I'd go ahead and say the Decoy defense is maybe it's not the she just met him. Maybe they've been together for a very long time, the Penny and the boyfriend, and she's like, I can't believe you're dating my ex, and she's like, well, I didn't know, he's from out of state. Didn't know, and just trying to, feign ignorance of the situation. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that OP, in the reality, is probably not the antagonist. But let's go ahead and see what the top and controversial comments have to say, because that might change my mind. So the top comment is not the antagonist. Your friend is an ignorant antagonist. Her sparks with your boyfriend are in her head and are not your problem. Someone who says something this stupid isn't worth being friends with. And the one thing that my takeaway from that is the whole, it's not your problem, someone who says something like that. Yeah, where does girl code come into play with this? Just the idea that it was almost like a manipulative tactic where I'm sure if the boyfriend would have ran off with Penny, girl code would have went out the window. It would have just been like, well, he's with me now, so sorry. Girl code only pertains to the weak-willed. But let's see a reply to that saying, exactly, this is extremely stupid. That girl code doesn't exist. You should ditch her and everyone who agreed with her, because actual girl code dictates that Penny is a psycho, which is probably true. I think the girl code only pertains to if they all knew the person at the same time and the one, they're fighting over him. Hey, friendship's more important than the guy, but I don't think that would be the situation. And then also, I know the guy code would be, hey, if I was dating a girl and we broke up and we still, me and my buddy still hang out, my buddies shouldn't start dating her too, so I gotta see her around again, which I think is probably kind of reasonable, both for on the man's side and the woman's side. But let's go ahead and read the next top comment saying, not the antagonist, but girl, cut Penny off. I had a situation where a girl told me that I had to let my boyfriend decide which one of us he wanted to date. I told him and he was like, it's pretty obvious, I've already chosen. That relationship has long been over, but since for 5 years, she has gone out of her way to continue to be rude because of it. Some people are just like that because the best thing to do is to cut them off cold turkey. And I'd say, yeah, some people are like that because they're so self-centered that they're like, oh, everything I'm entitled to. They don't see the boyfriend as a person. They just see them as a thing to obtain. And the OP, oh, you're not a person, you're not a whole, you're just a flat character in the storybook that is my life. So they don't see them as a person. But the next top reply was, not the antagonist. You violated 0 girl codes. Last time I checked, you're allowed to date people. And then the next reply was, no, you're not allowed to date anyone likable or else someone else might like them too. And that's a sarcastic post, which is kind of a bizarre thing that people can shame each other for liking somebody, dating somebody, and being with them just because there's this fictitious girl code that was perpetuated by some rom-com or series they saw on television. It's a bizarre thing, but that's what we are right now. The era of the YouTube star and the reality star where they don't really contribute or have any specific talent. You're just famous for being famous, and then you can, say that you're superior to somebody else just because. So let's see what they're saying over in the controversial section, which is, OP, that interaction did not effing happen. Quit lying. And they said, for real, people do not talk like this in real life. I don't know, you haven't really met some, I'm not calling them psychos or crazies, but just people that are just kind of a little bit unhinged sometimes because they do see things in very skewed, self-centered manners that we're just not accustomed to. Someone saying this has to be a troll. The auto mod came back in controversial. And then this one is, this post is fake. This post is faker. Here's one controversial post that's actually a post. Not the antagonist. You didn't violate girl code. That rule only applies when no one is dating the person in question. It does not constitute veto power over someone who is already your boyfriend. Penny is very definitely the antagonist here. If it were me, I'd never speak to her again. So I think that everybody agrees, except for in the controversial section where they all think it's a fake story. And let me tell you right now, is sometimes outlandish things do occur, and just because they don't seem like they would happen in your reality doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have an insane friend. And I'll tell you right now, from first-person experience, a lot of you subscribers and viewers are new. Back in the Decoy archives, I did a lot of fake stories where I put Hermione Granger's story on there, and it's incredibly fake, and I wrote it myself, but not one single person called me out for being a fake story or called me out for writing a Harry Potter novel in Am I the Antagonist? So just because someone isn't the best writer or have crazy friends doesn't make the story fake. And also, just because it's a realistic story just means that, hey, they might just be okay at writing, because I'm not even that great of an author, but I was still passing off stories that went viral, made it to #1 on Am I the Antagonist for a full day, and nobody seemed to know that I was just BSing it all. So still saying not the antagonist. The only antagonist I'm seeing over here are all those unproductive, controversial commenters that said this was a fake story. Why am I the antagonist? Just complaining about that. That helps no one. But let's go ahead and get to the last post of the day, which is, would I be the antagonist if I sue my sister-in-law for stealing my book and making a huge profit from it? So OP wrote, I, a 24-year-old female, write as a hobby, and I like sharing my short stories with my small following. I do want to publish one day, but I want to make it perfect first since it's not edited yet. The unfinished book we're talking about came from an idea that I started to build when I was in middle school. I just finished it last year, but because of the virus, I was forced to put that project aside to ensure steady employment with my day job. My brother and sister-in-law came to visit me to introduce their baby daughter about 6 months ago. Sister-in-law thrusted her baby in my arms even though I lack even the barest knowledge of how to hold a baby. The baby was fussy and my brother helped calm her down while sister-in-law said she wanted to use the bathroom to pump breast milk. They left later and I didn't think anything of it until recently I was told that sister-in-law had published a book and it had been a while since she published. Self-publish is not as time-consuming as traditional publishing. I don't doubt my sister-in-law's intelligence because she's a smart woman, but I've always heard how she dislikes books because they're boring and drags on. I wanted to show my support and bought a copy only to realize it's way too similar to mine. I compared it to a copy of unpublished work. It's obvious it's been edited and proofread for fluidity and clarity. I was angry, and I admit I overreacted by confronting her over the phone. She said my screaming was upsetting her and hung up on me. It was a back and forth battle with phone numbers to get the truth. By this time, my parents and her parents are involved. Then the truth boiled over, probably from stress and being caught, because I do have a copy and detailed notes of my progress in world building and in-depth characters for second book. She said that my brother and her needed the money because they have a child and lockdown threatens their work. She said she will give me 75% of the continuous royalty to settle it. I said no and told me to give me the pseudonym she put the book under and take the amount she paid for editing and proofreading the book and the marketing ads. She said I'm taking away her daughter's college fund. She just lost her job and her unemployment check hasn't come yet. Her brother is a sole supporter. I threatened to sue, and everyone is furious with me. I believe I will proceed with the lawsuit. Sorry for grammar. And then edit. Sister-in-law was and still is a mommy blogger. She started a blog when she found out about her pregnancy. It was a weekly update journey, and the blog turned into be a full-on mommy blog now. She has a decent following and makes money from the ads, but I don't think it's a full-time worker salary. I gather from the book's review on social media platforms that isn't selling the book to avoid policy violations, that her followers got the book because they support sister-in-law. I know it's bitter of me, but I can't help but feel offended that I worked hard on it to have it brought under the intention of being interested. What? Okay. It's not how the book climbed the ranks. Her followers bought them. Update. I've taken your suggestion and have one more talk with the sister-in-law without involving other family members. The deal was the same as before. Give me the name she published under, take whatever money she used to publish and advertise, and she insisted that I take the 75% of the royalty because her followers are expecting a sequel from the book. I told her that I will not allow her to make a profit off my work that I put so much effort in. This morning, about an hour ago, she had told my parents and her parents about me not compromising for the sake of her family and the sake of her daughter. Now it's me that's a bad guy. My parents treat sister-in-law like she's a daughter, so they told me that either accept her offer or they essentially will disown me. Saying families don't sue each other and we're to support each other. I'm somewhat surprised and somewhat not because I never grew up to be someone who they're satisfied with, and sister-in-law has traits they dream of me having. I feel like a stranger in my own family. So kind of a sad story, but we're going to go ahead and take this over to Decoy Court before we see those top and controversial comments. And the one thing I will say with this situation is that it seems like everybody just wants this to kind of go over smoothly. They don't want a lawsuit. They don't want to hurt their own, the parents don't want to hurt their grandparent, and then her parents are always going to take the sister-in-law side. So it seems like they just want OP to take the hit for everybody else to keep him happy, but OP has every right, especially if they're going to win in a court of law, to do this. But it doesn't doesn't excuse them from being the antagonist of this situation where, you know, are you hurting family? Are you hurting your brother? All this. But at the end of the day, she is the true victim in this. I don't like just because someone's getting more hurt than you. Like if me and somebody start a fist fight with each other, or no, if someone starts a fist fight with me and then they end up getting more injured than I do, that doesn't make them the victim. I'm still the victim because I'm not the aggressor in the situation. And that's the same exact situation that's happening over here where OP is not the aggressor. It's not their fault if the sister-in-law gets more hurt than OP. So I'm going to go ahead and say they're not the antagonist, and I hope they win everything in the lawsuit because, not to teach a lesson, but just the idea of, hey, that's justice right there. That you're entitled to that money. It's your book, your hard work. Don't let somebody walk all over you because they're the more favorite kid in the family. But let's go ahead and get to that top comment right now to see what's really going on. So the top comment was, not the antagonist. She stole your book and you can prove it. Lawyer up. And the reply to that with the stars again is published author, commercially and self, chiming in. 1. You have copyright of your work from the moment it's created, and it may not be registered, but it's your intellectual property. If you sue, you'll need a copyright/literary attorney, and they're not cheap. 2. Keep everything you have showing the progression of the novel from notes, previous drafts, etc. 3. She said that my brother and her needed the money because they have a child and lockdown threatens her work. She said she will give me 75% of the continuous royalty to settle it. Hopefully you have this in text or email form. 4. Email every vendor selling the book and inform it's stolen IP. This will not get them to take it down, but it does establish that you've informed them. 5. Unless your sister has an established platform, she is not making a bank from a single self-published title. She just isn't. Average sales are 100 to 200 copies in total, so you're looking at less than $1,000. They're slightly higher for romance, but still not great. You should be able to find a hint of its popularity by its Amazon ranking. If it's in the 5 figures, that's pretty good. 6 or 7 figures, then that's the average range. Okay, so 6, and I'm sorry to tell you all this, but the book has been published. Granted, not by you or under the name and title, but it's been published. This will make it a lot more difficult for you to sell it to a publisher, even though you had no part in the publication. Now, if no one has bought it and you can change the title easily, you're in a much better position. In the end, you're going to have to decide what you want out of this. Your sister-in-law was definitely in the wrong, and you should face repercussions, but you're not likely going to see any monetary compensation. It might actually cost you more to file a suit than you get back, and not the antagonist. I'm so sorry this happened to you. And I love the idea that someone actually in the field is replying to it, giving her, you know, how much money you can get, what kind of attorney you should get, how much it's going to cost you, and likely that it's going to be more trouble than it's worth. Oftentimes I'll have these stories where someone's like, I'm going to sue you, they're going to sue this other person, and I kind of dig into it saying, hey, look, yes, it's right, you should sue them, but at the end of the day, do you really want to try to compile all the evidence, file a case with the court, show up on the court date for the first preliminary thing, come back later on, have a suit purchase a suit if you don't already have one. It may be more trouble than it's worth it than just to walk away from the situation. Yes, they kind of quote unquote win because they don't have any repercussions for what they did, but honestly, sometimes just your own free time is worth way more than seeking justice. So I kind of dig what they said right there, and I feel like that's probably going to resonate with OP the most. So let's go ahead and look at just a couple controversial posts saying, you're the antagonist. This is completely fake. How did she get your book? Did she have a hard copy? And if so, did she scan it in, type it in, swipe it using a thumb drive off her computer? So they're simultaneously calling this a fake story and then giving probable ways that this was a real story. I hate that comment. And the next reply was, I'd lower you up and go for everything. And then this guy says, this is barely coherent. I doubt you could have published a book that would have made you money. Kind of true. And the next one is, not the antagonist. Your sister-in-law is clearly in the wrong, but I would think very, very carefully before suing a family member. This will cause ruptures that will never heal, not to mention the legal fees involved. I would try another round or two of meditation before going there. Negative 67 votes. Negative 67 votes are saying, hey, time out. Take a deep breath. You obviously type this in a flurry of anger and rage. See things through, think of the financial thing, think of the family ripping apart, think of all this. Like, I don't know what the best for OP is because I'm not there, but this seems like some pretty good advice, and yet they got heavily downvoted because they said, hey, have some compassion right now. So as we go more through DecoyNoise and figure out what the post is about, like I'm doing today, I messed up posts, I'm plugging things into Decoy Court, am I the antagonist, and still doing, you know, one episode every single day. Let me know how you liking that as it's going on. I see that my views are starting to climb back up, and I did get some feedback from some pretty good Decoy Court in the comment section where they said, hey, why don't you do one video once a week, or like they space it out a bit more. But honestly, when I did less videos after I came back from furlough, YouTube punished me heavily. Oh, I was going, if you look back there, I was getting in my first day between 1 to 3,000 views per video, and now I struggle for 400 views per video, and it's barely coming back. So I have to do videos every day if I want this channel to rank compared to the other Reddit reading channels that are just robots. And then also, I don't expect everybody to watch every video. That's fine. You can kind of, if you don't have time to watch my content, come back, and if you see one thumbnail that catches your eye, go ahead and watch that video. But yeah, you don't have to do me any favors by watching all the content. That's completely fine. I understand you guys are having busy lives that are kind of, everybody's struggling along right now. So I mean, I understand. I won't take a personal offense if you're not watching it, but I do take personal offense if you're watching all the content and not subscribed down below with the notifications on if you want to see all the content or want to see it when it releases, because that really helps out my impressions and the viewership. So make sure you subscribe. But as always, if you made it this far in the video, you're seeing the hearts, you're seeing the likes, you're seeing the thumbs up, make sure you're liking it too. Make sure you're sharing it with someone that might like this type of Reddit read podcast live commentary situation I got going on. Just anything at all. But if nothing else, go ahead and put this on autoplay and watch that next episode of DecoyNoise coming up next.